178 of reading, taking Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Let's get started. We're currently on page 176. Let's go. Ridiculous, she sobbed again. Crack. Mr. Weasley's body replaced Bill's, his glasses askew, a trickle of blood running down his face. No, Mrs. Weasley moaned. No, ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous. Crack. Dead twins. Crack. Dead Percy. Crack. Dead Harry. Mrs. Weasley, just get out of here, shouted Harry, staring down at his own dead body on the floor. Let someone else... What's going on? Lupin had come running into the room, closely followed by Cyrus, and with Moody stumping along behind them. Lupin looked from Mrs. Weasley to the dead Harry on the floor and seemed to understand in an instant. Pulling out his own wand, he said, very firmly and clearly, "Ridiculous!" Harry's body vanished. A silvery orb hung in the air over the spot where it had lain. Lupin waved his wand once more, and the orb vanished in a puff of smoke. Oh, gulped Mrs. Weasley, and she broke into a storm of crying, her face in her hands. Molly, said Lupin bleakly, walking over to her. Molly, don't. Next second, she was sobbing, her heart out on Lupin's shoulder. Molly, it was just a boggart, he said soothingly, patting her on the head. It's just a stupid boggart. I see them dead all the time, Mrs. Weasley moaned into his shoulder. All the time. I dream about it. Cyrus was staring at the patch of carpet where the boggart, pretending to be Harry's body, had lain. Moody was looking at Harry, who avoided his gaze. He had a funny feeling Moody's magical eye had followed him all the way out of the kitchen. Don't tell Arthur, Mrs. Weasley was gulping now, mopping her eyes frantically with her cuffs. I don't want him to know. Being silly. Lupin handed her a handkerchief and she blew her nose. Harry, I'm so sorry. What must you think of me? She said shakily, not even to get rid of a boggart. Don't be stupid, said Harry, trying to smile. I'm just so worried, she said, tears spilling out of her eyes again. Half the family's in the Order. It'll be a miracle if we all come through this, and Percy's not talking to us. What if something dreadful happens and we never made up? And what's going to happen if Arthur and I get killed? Who's going to look after Ron and Ginny? Molly, that's enough, said Lupin firmly. This isn't like last time. The Order are better prepared. We've got a head start. We know what Voldemort's up to. Mrs. Weasley gave a little squeak of fright at the sound of the name. Oh, Molly, come on. It's about time you get used to hearing it. Look, I can't promise no one's going to get hurt. Nobody can promise that, but we're much better off than when we were last time. You weren't in the Order then. You don't understand. Last time we were outnumbered 20-1 by the Death Eaters, and they were picking us off one by one. He thought of the photograph again, of his parents' beaming faces. He knew Moody was still watching him. Don't worry about Percy, said Cyrus abruptly. He'll come around. It's a matter of time before Voldemort moves into the open. Once he does, the whole ministry's going to be begging us to forgive them. And I'm not sure I'll be accepting their apology, he added bitterly. And as for who's going to look after Ron and Ginny if you and Arthur died, said Lupin, smiling tightly. What do you think we'd let them do? Let them starve? Mrs. Weasley smiled tremulously. Being silly, she muttered again, mopping her eyes. But Harry, closing his bedroom door behind him some 10 minutes later, could not think Mrs. Weasley silly. He could still see his parents beaming up at him from those tattered old photographs, unaware that their lives, like so many of those around them, were drawing to a close. The image of the boggart posing as the corpse of each member of Mrs. Weasley's family injured kept flashing before his eyes. Without warning, the scar on his forehead seared with pain again, and his stomach churned horribly. Cut it out, he said firmly, rubbing the scar as the pain receded again. First sign of madness, talking to your own head, said a sly voice from the empty picture on the wall. Harry ignored it. He felt older than he had ever felt in his life, and it seemed extraordinary to him that barely an hour ago he had been worried about a joke shop and who had gotten a prefect's badge. Chapter 10. Luna Lovegood. Harry had a troubled night's sleep. His parents wove in and out of his dreams, never speaking. Mrs. Weasley sobbed over Creature's dead body, watched by Ron and Hermione, who were wearing crowns. And yet Harry found himself walking down a corridor and in a locked door. He awoke abruptly with a scar prickling to find Ron already dressed and talking to him. Better hurry up. Mom's going ballistic. She says we're going to miss the train. There was a lot of commotion in the house. Fred, from what he heard when he dressed at top speed, Harry gathered that Fred and George had been bewitched their trunks to fly downstairs to save the bother carrying them, with the result that they had hurtled straight into Ginny and knocked her down 2 flights of stairs into the hall. Mrs. Black and Mrs. Weasley were both screaming at the top of their voices. "Could have done her a serious injury, you idiots! Filthy half-breeds! Besmirching the house of my fathers!" Hermione came hurrying into the room looking flustered just as Harry was putting on his trainers. Hedwig was swinging on her shoulder, and she was carrying a screaming Crookshanks in her arms. Mum and Dad just sent Hedwig back. The owl fluttered obligingly over and perched on top of her cage. "Are you ready yet?" "Nearly." "Ginny all right?" Harry asked, shoving on his glasses. "Mrs. Weasley's patched her up," said Hermione, "but now Mad Eye's complaining that we can't leave unless Sturgis Podmore's here. Otherwise, the guard will be one short." "Guard?" said Harry. We have to go to King's Cross with the guard?" "You have to go to King's Cross with the guard," Hermione corrected him. "Why?" said Harry irritably. "I thought Voldemort was supposed to be lying low. Or are you telling me he's gonna jump out from behind a dustbin and try to do me in?" "I don't know. It's just what Mad Eye says," said Hermione distractedly, looking at her watch. "But if we don't leave soon, we're definitely going to miss the train." "Well, you lot get down here now, please," Mrs. Weasley bellowed, and Hermione jumped as though scalded and hurried out of the room. Harry seized Hedwig, stuffed her unceremoniously into her cage, and set off downstairs after Hermione, dragging his trunk. Mrs. Black's portrait was howling with rage, but nobody was bothering to close the curtains over her. All the noise in the hall was bound to rouse her again anyway. "Harry, you're to come with me and Tonks," shouted Mrs. Weasley over the repeated screeches of "Mudblood, scum, creatures of dirt. Leave your trunk and your owl. Alastair's going to deal with the luggage." "Oh, for heaven's sake, Cyrus! Dumbledore said no!" A bear-like black dog had appeared at Harry's side as Harry clambered over the various trunks cluttering the hall to get to Mrs. Weasley. "Oh, honestly," said Mrs. Weasley despairingly. "Well, on your own head be it." She wrenched open the front door and stepped out into the weak September sunlight. Harry and the dog followed her. The door slammed behind them, and Mrs. Black's screeches were cut off instantly. "Where's Tonks?" Harry said, looking around as they went down the stone steps of number 12, which vanished the moment they reached the pavement. "She's waiting for us just up here," said Mrs. Weasley stiffly, averting her eyes from the lolloping black dog beside Harry. An old woman greeted them on the corner. She had tightly curled gray hair and wore a purple hat shaped like a pork pie. "Watch her, Harry," she said, winking. "Better hurry up, hadn't we, Molly?" she added, checking her watch. I know," moaned Mrs. Weasley, lengthening her stride. "But Mad Eye wanted to wait for Sturgis. If only Arthur could have gotten us cards from the ministry again. But Fudge wouldn't let him borrow so many as an empty ink bottle these days. How muggles can stand traveling without magic?" But the great black dog gave a joyful bark and gamboled around them, snapping at pigeons and chasing his own tail. Harry couldn't help laughing. Cyrus had been trapped inside for a very long time. Mrs. Weasley pursed her lip in an almost Aunt Petunia-ish way. It took them 20 minutes to reach King's Cross by foot, and nothing more eventful happened during that time than Cyrus scaring a couple of cats for Harry's entertainment. Once inside the station, they lingered casually beside the barrier between platforms 9 and 10 until the coast was clear. Then each of them leaned against it, and thank you, everyone. That's all for today. Bye. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to read page 182. Bookmark, close. Peace out.